Hi, I'm Janae Porch, and for this presentation, I'll be evaluating three companies into which I would give a short-term loan, a long-term loan, and which company I would choose to buy the equity side of if given the opportunity. The information that I'm using, I got off of Bloomberg Lab, well, from our Bloomberg Lab on campus. This is from my Finance 381 class, and the following information will help me determine which company I would choose. Okay, for starters, for the short-term loan, I chose to use ratios that show the liquidity of companies, such as the current ratio, the quick ratio, and the cash ratio. And by the way, the companies that I chose to review were Sanderson Farms, Chipotle, Mexican Grill, and Ralph Lauren Corporations. For these companies, for Sanderson Farms, I evaluated the current ratio for a period of 3 years, and it was fairly consistent with a 3.73, 3.43, and a 2.87 current ratio. Chipotle has a current ratio of 3.58, and in previous years it was 3.34 and 2.93. Ralph Lauren has a current ratio of 2.8, and in previous years it was 3.43 and 2.64. All of these companies are relatively in the same range as far as their current ratio goes, but the highest of all, which is what we're looking for, was Sanderson Farms. In the quick ratio department, Sanderson Farms quick ratio is 1.12, and in previous years 1.2 and 0.93. For Chipotle, the quick ratio is currently 3.51, and in previous years 3.28 and 2.87. For Ralph Lauren, it's 2.38 currently, and in previous years it was 1.84 and 2.18. This is where some variance takes place, but still Chipotle has the highest quick ratio, which is what we want. For the cash ratios, Sanderson Farm currently is reported to have a 1.2 as for cash ratios, and in previous years it was 0.53 and 0.21. Chipotle currently has a cash ratio of 3.09, and in previous years it was 2.9 and 2.53. For Ralph Lauren, the current cash ratio is 1.32, and in previous years 1.16 and 1.25. Chipotle is obviously the more consistent of the three, and for that I would give them the short-term loan. And next I evaluated the long-term loan. For the long-term loan, I chose to evaluate the total debt ratios of the companies and the debt to equity ratios. We want these numbers to be as low as possible because it shows that the companies are using their equity and their leverage to turn over profit and make cash. Okay, so for Sanderson Farms, their total debt ratio was 1.8. Chipotle Mexican Grill was reported to have a 0, and Ralph Lauren had a 12.78. The lowest of that would obviously be Chipotle Mexican Grill, followed by Sanderson Farms. The debt to equity ratio for Sanderson Farms was reported to be 0.02, for Chipotle 0.27, and for Ralph Lauren 0.074 to date. In previous years, Sanderson Farms total debt ratio was 14.58 and 16.96. Shows a variance in their total debt ratio, so that was taken into consideration. And Chipotle Mexican Grills was reported as 0 and 1.75 in previous years. Numbers still low. The debt to equity ratio for these companies was in previous years was 3.84, and 4.12 for Sanderson Farms. For Chipotle, the debt to equity ratio was 0.37 and 0.12. Numbers are still relatively low. For Ralph Lauren, it was 0.487 and 0.512 in previous years. For this, Chipotle once again won, and having the lowest total debt to ratio on average, as well as debt to equity on average. So I would give them the long-term loan followed by Sanderson Farms because they show slight variance, but they still show that they manage their liabilities well. And for the final question, which was which company I would buy the equity of, I chose to use the obvious, the return on equity and the return on assets. I also looked at the market to book value to see what stockholders viewed their company to have the more value in, so to speak. That was a long pause, I'm sorry. But the current ROE for Sanderson Farms is 30.87. For Chipotle Mexican Grill is 25.09. And for Ralph Lauren, it's 17.72. For the ROA for Sanderson Farms, it was 24.47. For Chipotle Mexican Grill, it's 19.55. And for Ralph Lauren, it was 11.51. We want these numbers to be higher, and so for that, Sanderson Farms was the highest of the three companies for this year, as well as in previous years. So I looked at the market to book value just to see what it was looking like. Not that it played much of a role, but the numbers kind of speak for themselves. The market to book value for Sanderson Farms was 2.16. For Chipotle, it was 11.3, and for Ralph Lauren, it was 7.13. Those numbers would kind of skew my judgment in this, but for the equity, I would want to buy Sanderson Farms equity. That's my presentation. Thank you.